Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Jill Senior. I am the Director of Meetings and Events here at the Pennsylvania Home Care Association. I just want to thank you all for joining us today for our 30 on Thursday. Excuse me. Today we are so grateful for our partner Care Time joining us today. Julio and Maria are here and they're going to tell us about their wonderful product, and we are so grateful for their partnership with PHA on our annual conference and being a part of this program, our 30 on Thursday. I do want to mention a few housekeeping notes before we jump into the presentation. All of you that are on here today are eligible for our 100 extra points for the gamification at our annual conference. So what I'd like to ask everybody to do is in your chat, if you could just drop in your name, because sometimes in the program it just shows me a phone number. So if you could drop in your name first and last in the chat, I'll make sure to honor the 100 points for participating today. We will, of course, take questions at the end of this presentation, so feel free to use the Q&A or chat to drop in questions for Care Time, and we will be sure to address those at the end. Again, without further ado, I'd like to say thank you again to Julio and Maria for joining us and for Care Time and their partnership with PHA and this wonderful program that we offer. So I'm just going to turn it over to them. Thank you again, both of you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Super excited to be here. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Julio Barea, Vice President of Sales for a small software company called Care Time. I've been in this business now for almost 8 years, and I do have to say that PHA and the show is my favorite trade show of all the ones I attend every year. Super excited to be there this year. I'm joined today by Maria Wolbert, who's one of my senior account executives. And good afternoon, Maria. How are you?
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me, Julio, and everybody who has joined the call. As Julio has said, my name is Maria. Unlike Julio, this will be my first time at the PHA, and I'm super excited. I've heard nothing but great things. My husband and his family are from Pennsylvania. I absolutely love the state, but it's going to be my first time at that part of the state, and myself and Chandler, who will be joining me at the PHA this year. I'm very excited to meet all of you. So thank you so much for having us.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So let's jump right into it. We were thinking about things to talk about before this show, and one of the things that has come to mind and is always very current and relevant with agencies out there is the current state of EVV, the claims data, and the struggles that you guys are facing day to day. This is something that for us is very near and dear. We spend a lot of time speaking to agencies, and it's very consistent that we hear over and over again they have problems either with the aggregator, which is very common, or they have problems with their third-party systems connecting to the aggregator. And it causes a lot of struggles for an agency, right? You have to deal with things like technology integration and compatibility. And Maria, what have you heard when it comes to agencies talking about their problems with electronic visit verification?
Sure. So thank you, Julio, for saying that. As my title may imply, I'm an account executive. I talk to agency owners and administrators, just like most people on this call, all day, every day. And something I hear all the time is the lack of compatibility between their current system that handles their data management and scheduling with the state aggregator. So that leads to a lot of problems. One is if there's no compatibility, caregivers have to use dual systems, right? They have to use a mobile app that speaks to the aggregator or the aggregator itself, which is provided by the state. But most of the time, those systems lack in reporting, in scheduling, and other vital functions that you need as an agency owner or administrator to properly run your operations. So then you have another supplemental system that will supplement those functions for you operationally. If those two systems are not compatible, that can lead to billing problems, right, with your claim submission, as well as EVV issues because you do not have that visibility on an operational level into that data. So it's very important to have a system that is compatible with the EVV aggregator, especially for states that have two. Finding one that is compatible and is connected to both is vital.
Yeah, I agree, because the last thing an agency administrator really wants to do with their day is fiddle with the electronic stuff, right? If you think about the average administrator, what you guys are dealing with, you come in, you've got to deal with shifts, you got to deal with caregivers calling in and calling out, you've got client phone calls, payrolls coming up, billing and claims and coming up. And the last thing you want to do is deal with two disparate systems that aren't communicating well with each other. Very, very good stuff. Thank you so much, Maria. And so another thing that we see as a challenge for agencies when it comes to EVV is, are you staying in compliance with federal and state regulations? And that, more than anything, is a real challenge, because while we are very focused on Pennsylvania and we do business in there all the time and can fully connect and file claims and visit data for all of the Pennsylvania programs, imagine having to do that in 50 states, right? So what you really want is to make sure you're working with folks that know what they're doing in every state. And Maria, I think you've found that that's something that we hear a lot about, especially when we have locations in multiple states, right?
That is correct. Yeah. So having a system that is compatible and certified in numerous states for larger agencies is incredibly important. And even for medium and small size, if you have any aspiration to grow outside of your state or perhaps exit, and part of your exit strategy is selling to a larger organization that is in multiple states. So having a platform in place that is compatible in numerous states is vital and is familiar with not just your local state regulations, but federal on a larger level as well.
That's good to know. That's good to know. And that brings to something else I was thinking about. I know that the data reliability and accuracy is hugely important in EVV systems, right? We want to make sure that we have the ability to capture that data and make sure that that data is getting where it needs to go, right? Because the last thing you want to do, again, as an administrator, is Friday afternoon or Monday afternoon and you're filing your claims and yet you don't have all your visits done. So that requires making sure that you have your caregivers using your system, right? It brings up training and adoption, which is another thing that we're concerned about. But when it comes to reliability, Maria, what problems do you see when you're talking to folks out in the street?
With reliability, a few things come to mind. One is, first of all, data privacy and security. It needs to be reliable from the security standpoint. We have to take a real sensitivity to the fact that we're dealing with personal sensitive data. So having a system in place that is protective of that sensitive information is vital. Right, so HIPAA compliance and other privacy laws. And that is not only for the system, but also your internal practices. So having something that accommodates that is incredibly important. The other thing from the reliability standpoint is having an simply put, a mobile app that works. Because what is going to happen if the mobile app does not work half the time? Caregivers will not use it. If it is a clunky app, if it is not reliable, it will lead to caregivers not being compliant. So what happens then? For you who are on this call, from the administrative standpoint, from the operational standpoint, it leads to manual edits. And the problem there is twofold. One is that there's a threshold for manual edits in every state. Some states are higher, some states are lower, but it exists in every single state. And once you go over that threshold for the manual edits, you get on what some agencies refer to as the naughty list. And we do not want to be on the naughty list if we are a Medicaid agency. That is the last place that I would want to find myself on. So having a reliable app that is user-friendly, that the caregivers can easily use to clock in and out. And we have to take sensitivity also to the fact that some of our caregivers are more seasoned than others. So having a mobile app that's straightforward, that is not difficult for them to use, or having other supplemental options such as telephony. So some caregivers may not have access to smartphone technology and just physically cannot use the mobile app because they have a flip phone. So it's important to have other options. And it will also help your agency from the standpoint of attracting more qualified caregivers, because you can use that as a marketing tool, that you have all of these phenomenal, easy ways for your caregivers to do their jobs.
I love hearing that, because if there's one thing that we know, it's almost impossible to get 100% adoption on usage of your AVV app by your caregivers. I think everybody on this call knows, you mentioned about some caregivers more seasoned than others. I find that very interesting. typically the more seasoned caregivers struggle with new technology, or they don't want to use new technology. But at the same time, those seasoned caregivers are your very best people, right? So
That's
we want to
right.
make sure that we have something in place that your caregivers are going to use. And if they use it, it will work. If they don't use it, it will not work. So I think that's really important. Thank you so much for speaking about that. So when it comes to bringing caregivers, so we've got our caregivers using the app. We've got an app that works. We've got an app that's transmitting data. We want to talk about what happens next. And what happens next is usually, where does that data go? And it's going to go uh, out to the aggregator. And if that data is incorrect, Maria, what happens?
Plain and simple, your claims are going to get denied, and that will put a delay on your reimbursement time. Of course, if it gets declined, it doesn't mean that all is lost. Chances are you will have somebody on your team who is either on the phone or in the portal trying to figure out why that claim got declined. But that is very valuable time that they could be spending on other money generating activities for your agency. They could be marketing, they could be talking to caregivers, they could be doing a million different things. We all know that running an agency is incredibly complicated and complex, and there's so many things that you need to make sure that are done on a daily basis. So let's go ahead and take that valuable time and put it into money generating activities that generate growth for your agency, instead of trying to fiddle with technology and figuring out why claims are getting declined.
I agree. And that brings to light something that's very important. Again, just like the electronic visit verification portion in the mobile app working for the caregivers, if it's not easy for the user, right? Again, for you busy administrators that are on this call, we all know if you don't have a system that's easy to use, you're not going to use it. So we want to make sure we have that. And that's something that brings apart, which is visibility into that claims data. Where do we see it? Where is the data available to be edited? Where are our visits? Where are the errors? Where are the denials? Where can we see these kind of things? And so that user interface experience and ability for the admin to see all that, I think, is key. And Maria, that brings to light, I think, kind of allows us to pivot a little bit to why we're here today. How has Care Time thought about solving that problem?
I am so glad that we're talking about this. This is my favorite part of any demo, any conversation that I have with any agency of pretty much any size and in any state. What Care Time has done in our brand new product, which we're calling V3, is we have created an EVV portal that provides full visibility into all of your EVV data as well as all of your claims data. And that is vital, right? Because if you have multiple payers, multiple aggregators, having everything in one portal with that visibility enhances your productivity, it reduces errors, and your claims are getting paid faster because they're correct the first time around. So having visibility into that data, and Julio will share his screen here in a minute and actually show you what we're talking about, but having visibility into the visit data prior and after the visit being concluded, but also the claims data prior and after the submission process is vital. But also having things just in plain English explained to you if there has been an error on either the visit or the claim side. And Julio, I see that you have shared your screen, so I'll let you kind of walk us through what we're looking at here.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Maria. So I know I told you we weren't going to focus on doing a demo of the product, but I'm very proud of what we have built here. We believe that there is not a better single source location to manage your rejections, your claims, and your visits than the Care Time portal. It's a unique and fabulous feature that will absolutely save you time. The first thing is, where can you see the totality of your visits? In this particular case, the dashboard, right? You hear about dashboards all the time, but there isn't a dashboard that I know in the market today that can show you in a single location a summary of your visits received, your visits billed, your visits approved, your visits defaulted, rejected, delivered, claims, claims held, visits sent, basically every source. And not only that, but you can sort easily by care provider and by date. So this allows you to pull and by program and payer and everything else that you want to source by. So on a regular day, we can also see our visit counts by status, really nice bar graphs that allow you to see the visits that were received, they were approved, rejected, held, updated, right? We can actually dig into these visits. And then with these visits, we can then be taken immediately to a place where we can correct whatever the rejection reason was. And those rejection reasons are very visible and easy to see. We can see our claims accounts by status. Here's our rejections. This is an interesting one. What are the most rejection reasons? Procedure code, payer plan do not match state specifications. Those of you in the Medicaid business know one thing. Probably the most difficult and drudgery part of your workday is having to go through every single one of your claim denials or claim rejections, figure out why it was denied or rejected. Then you have to go to the place where you change the data that caused that claim to be denied and rejected, and then turn around and resubmit. This is something that in CareTime version 3 portal is almost automated. And we have some functionality that we won't talk about on this call, but I would certainly love for you folks to go see Maria at the booth on May 15th, 16th, and 17th and have her show you exactly what you can do with the portal. We can see our claims, for example. We can search claim creation dates, submitted dates, claim numbers, claim status, payers, assignments. If we go to a rejection, we can click on the individual rejection and see visits affected. We can even view the visits themselves and continue to dig in here. I have a lot of visits on this particular one. This is a very large database. In this particular case, we know we have a care recipient. Their visit status is rejected. The reason was the rejected code. I can click on the visit and it opens up. It can show me activity on the visit. Basically everything you need to see, beautifully color coded, lots of white space, everything in a single location. So that's CareTime Portal. Come see us at the show and we'll be happy to show you more about it. Maria, can you tell me a little bit about what kind of feedback you've gotten from people that are using this portal?
I have gotten the most fantastic feedback, especially from agencies that are more complex in nature with several payers that are using different clearinghouses and aggregators. Another thing about clearinghouses, right, and I'll let Julio touch on that shortly, is that we're connected to multiple clearinghouses and you have a choice of what clearinghouse you would like to use. So in case that there is an outage, like there is currently with one of the industry's largest vendors at the moment, you're not struggling to submit your claims because you always have options. So as far as the portal, having the visibility and that part where it shows you the rejection reason in plain English, that is the part that I've gotten the best feedback on. But also, like, again, like I said, having everything in one place and being able to make corrections. So you may have visibility into some of this data through some of your various different portals, but then you need to make corrections into each individual portal as well as your system. With CareTime, with everything being connected, so again, touching base to everything being compatible and everything being connected, once you make a change in one place, it is made everywhere else. So again, it's saving you time and it's eliminating human error because let's be honest, I know I'm guilty of that. If I have to correct something, let's say in 2-3 different places, and I correct it in one, chances are it can't be forgotten someplace else. So again, it will lead from the agency standpoint, it will lead to claim rejections, EVV data rejections, etc. But also eliminating the guesswork. Why did something get rejected? Procedure codes missing, social security missing. Having that piece there in plain English is what I'm hearing the most from agencies that is valuable. What I would be more excited about, though, if you stopped by our booth and took a look at what Julio was showing you, and we can click things around, and I would be very curious to hear what is most valuable to you, because that kind of feedback is something that's so important to us as we're continuing to build out this fantastic portal and the system at large.
I'm really glad you said that. Thank you so much for bringing that up, because that's something that I think you don't hear about every day, right? There's 2 points to cover. One, we're a high velocity company. We're small. We're not one of the top 5 players in the business, right? We want to be, But in order to do that, we have to provide you fantastic service and great tools that allow you to run your business and not think about your software. My own personal philosophy in software is if you have to think about the software, it's not doing its job. Right now, two things that Maria brought up that I think are vitally important. One, she spoke about the recent outage. It's not really an outage. It was a software attack on a major vendor. Everybody in the call knows about it. I won't name any names publicly, but it was hugely impactful in the business. And there are a few vendors out there that lock you into an ecosystem where you only have the chance to use one clearinghouse, right? And that is something that we don't do. We are a high velocity company. We do all of our own development, and we today offer you a choice of using a selection of clearinghouses. Office Ally you can use Availity, you can use Ability, right? There's others that we could talk about and using, and that gives you the freedom of choice to use whomever you like to process your claims from that perspective. And if there's a clearinghouse that we aren't connected to today that you'd like us to talk about, let us know. Again, we're never going to tell you no. We might tell you we need more time, but we will never tell you no to something that you tell us that you need. Don't you agree, Maria?
I 100% agree. This is spoken from a very true place. I come to Julio all the time when I'm speaking with agencies, and I ask him, Julio, these guys really need this. Can we make it happen? The answer has never been outright no. It's always let us look into it, and we may just need a little bit of time.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Maria. So I think we're kind of running close to the end. There's a few things that I wanted to cover. One, I recently had a nice example of a very large franchisee for a large organization that moved on to version 3, and they had been using another platform, and that platform didn't allow them to connect to their own clearinghouse. They had to use a specific one, and it really locked them into it. And it was expensive, right? There was a transaction fees, and there was a lot of things going on. They moved over to version 3, and they used something that we call billing while you sleep, as well as a rules engine. You might have seen it when I was showing a screenshot of our portal. This allowed us to automate their billing for them, send it through their preferred clearinghouse, and they saved a ton of time, right? They had billers wearing 2 hats, doing double jobs. Now the billers could focus on doing this one job. They could spend their time in doing it right, and they didn't have to be running around trying to chase things that didn't happen. So really, really great experience for them, and we'd like that experience for you. So Maria, we have a few minutes left. Let me see here. I think that we have, is it time for questions yet? It might be. Actually, Maria, why don't you summarize what we talked about today, and then we'll take some questions.
Absolutely. So what we talked about today is the importance of having a reliable system that is compatible with your EBV state aggregator, as well as your claim submission process. Having visibility into all of these actions, whether through numerous systems or preferably through one. It is important for all the information to be secure and for all of your internal practices to also, of course, honor those privacy and security laws. Reimbursements are incredibly important to be done on time. So again, in order for that to happen, we need, of course, our claim submission process and the EBV submission process to somehow be compatible and to have, again, that visibility. We keep saying that word visibility because I cannot stress enough just how much of a game changer it is to have it. And that's essentially what we talked about today.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Maria. So let's take a look here and see, folks, we've got 5 minutes left. I'd love to take some questions if anybody has anything. There's a little Q&A button at the top of your team screen right next to the chat. Let's see if there's anything in the chat that maybe I missed. Okay, so we have a question here, Maria. It says, they say, does portal you're talking about work for all Medicaid programs?
And the answer is yes. The short answer is yes. Julio, would you like to expand on that?
Actually, I love the yes. I think just a solid yes. If we're connected in your state and we're filing claims in your state and your state is Pennsylvania, the answer is 100% yes. If it is a Medicaid a Medicaid program or a Medicaid waiver program that has an EDI connection. There are a few small waiver programs in Pennsylvania that do not, but the answer generally is a solid yes. Maria, I see I have a third-party billing service. That's interesting. can I still use them? What do you think?
I think that's a really interesting question because that's actually a service that we also provide, and we would be interested in talking to those folks a little more. They can absolutely keep using their services and their internal processes. However, we can also accommodate that a lot of times at a much lower rate.
I'm so glad you said that. Yeah, we definitely have started doing this. We started doing this about 2 years ago as a service only to our Medicaid clients. We are not a third-party billing company, right? But we found that our clients had a huge need for someone to help them in their billing. Turns out there's a lot of busy administrators. I'm sure some of you are on the call that can do your billing. You know how to bill. You're probably a fantastic biller, but as your business is growing, as your programs get more complex, you're running out of time, right? And as Napoleon Bonaparte said, ask me for anything but time, right? So in that case, we started providing, because we have very experienced billing people in our company, and so we opened up this little side part of our offering, and it has been such a game changer for both our clients and for us, because as long as you're an existing client, we're able to offer it at a rate that you could never get out in the street. So we definitely encourage you, if you have billing problems and you're a Medicaid agency and you want help, give us a call. We are here to help. So Maria, anything else today? Otherwise, I think it's been a great meeting. I had a great time. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Again, my name is Julio Barea. Our company is CareTime. Our product, CareTime version 3. Please come see Maria at the booth at the PHA show on May 14th, 15th, and 16th. Maria?
That's right. Thank you so much again for joining us today. I believe Chandler and myself will do our best to reach out to all of the attendees prior and as well as after the show. We hope to connect with you. If you do have a system that works for you, I would love to hear about that as well, to see what works for you and how you're making it work. One of the things I really pride myself on is being a resource to my clients. So anytime I can share best practices with other clients, I would absolutely love to hear from you. Again, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I personally look forward to meeting you at the show.
Thank you very much, Maria. Thank you very much for joining. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Julio. Thank you to CareTime again for joining with PHA and doing these 30 on Thursday webinars. We certainly appreciate your support of PHA and that you'll be at conference with us. So I just want to quickly share again. I know that Julio's mentioned it a couple times, but here are the dates for annual conference. So we hope that you will join us for that and that you will stop by the CareTime booth and touch base with Maria so she can show you the wonderful application that they offer. Wanted to also mention that we have our next sessions for our 30 on Thursdays. April 18th will be T-Mobile, so we hope that you will join us for that. And we certainly, again, appreciate all of our participants for 30 on Thursday. And I know you all are looking for your 100 extra points. I'll be sure to get those to you as well in the app. And again, appreciate CareTime and your partnership with PHA and taking the time out, Maria and Julio, to be with us today. So thank you, everybody, for joining us, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you, everybody.